It's a really great chapter, as all of them are. And we have minus a few people. I know Craig and Kathy are getting ready to go to Europe tomorrow, so they're not here with us. I don't know if you'd want to be traveling anywhere right now, but except maybe to the 7-Eleven, but that's about it.
Yeah, you never know when one of those sleeper cells.
That's right. Pam said she twisted her knee so she can stay off it, so she asked for prayers. So, yeah. She said, they're probably tired of praying for me. No, we're not, Pam. We love praying for you.
Barbara's not here because she's also dealing with her great-grandson, John. So she's at Salem Memorial Emergency with him right
What did John do?
His arm.
He broke it again?
Well, he was playing gymnastics. Yeah, he's in gymnastics, and so it's his arm. I don't know if it's broken yet.
Oh, boy.
I told her we'd be praying.
That guy.
That's where she's at now with him.
How many of you had children that break their arms? Yeah, we all did. It's just part of. So the worst part is, who was it? It was Amy was up on a roof, and she's the smaller one when she's a little kid, and Heather was a little. But Amy was going to pull you up the roof. Oh, I thought it was. Well, that's even bigger. And so Amy was trying to pull him up the roof, and of course, who came off? Because when he pulled on her, she came off and snap. It was at the church building too, so.
It was a little shed roof, just to be.
Yeah. You know, I tell you another story. Going home, Kurt was learning to drive, and he got pulled over by the police, and he had a bag of grass. And the officer was gonna, and it was actually grass clippings from the lawn. But it was in a baggie, and it looked like grass. And Kurt was so nervous, he's scared. Okay, well, just be safe going home. And he turns down the wrong way on a one-way, right when he's leaving. So, huh? Yeah, he had a golf turn, and he wanted some grass from where he was. We played grass or the golf at. You know, that's what you do. Dirt, collect stuff. Yeah. All right. Yes. Oh, Mary. Sorry. Remember, Shingles doesn't care. That's the commercial, right? Yes, Heather. Monica did?
But that's all the detail.
Oh, I didn't know. All right.
Under wraps.
All right. Okay. So we're already behind time. And I have a reputation of going long, so no questions, no comments unless you want to. But you know you can ask anything you want. So we're in Revelation 14. Let's have a prayer, and we'll jump right into it. And Rob, please. Amen. Ladies, come on in. We weren't going to start until you got here. All right, so now we can start. Chapters 12 through 18, we call that the earthly apocalypse, right? And last week we looked at the beasts from the sea and the beasts from the land. What was the beast from the sea? Rome. And the beast from the land was this false prophet or false religion. Because everything God does, Satan tries to counter it. And we remember that God made his offspring in the garden. That's Adam and Eve. They're living in paradise. And Satan said, no, you could come your own God. You don't need to be sons of that true and living God. And we know how that worked out. They're kicked out of paradise. Then God sent his own son, right? And Satan tries to kill him. And now the church, we're the offspring of God, aren't we? We're his children. And Satan goes right after and tries to kill the church and get people to worship the world or worship the beast, if you would. And that's where we left off, this idea of these two beasts. And remember, the beast has a number. We talked about how we ended there. And if you got wisdom, calculate the number of the beast. And it's thing called gematria, where they assigned numbers to each letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And when you add them up, you get a number value for someone's name or a word. And this is something, I'm a skeptic when it comes to this kind of stuff. So you look at it, and this seems to be really valid. This is what they did. So it's not just hocus pocus, okay? And I just want you to know that. And so he says the number 666. And so we ended up last week with showing that you take Nero's name, it's Nero and Caesar, but you got to put it in Hebrew. It adds up to 666. So the mark of the beast that people want to talk about today is not a tattoo. It's not a chip. It referred to a man. It's not a credit card. And it's not a Google. Remember we talked about that. It's logo. It's a man. And it's not just a man. It's, go ahead.
Where did the numbers come from? You probably told us last week.
I do not know how they, like a bait or how they assigned a number value to it. I don't know. I haven't looked that deep into it. But they did give a number value for every letter of the alphabet. And so some letters had a bigger value than others. And I don't have an answer. It's a good question, no. I just didn't get that far, okay? Because I didn't want to. Because you can get so far into it, it's like a rabbit hole, right? Now, I just want you to understand, 666, it represents Nero, but it doesn't represent Nero. It represents man versus God. Because 6 is more than just a number. It represents really opposition to God. And now, here are some things I just want to wrap up where we left last week. Revelation is not just history. This one writer called it a warning loop. It's a warning for all generations, all right? Because the mark isn't about a tattoo. We know that. It's about loyalty. Who are you going to be loyal to? Because in the last chapter, people were receiving the mark of the beast, because if they didn't get the mark of the beast, they couldn't what? Couldn't buy food or have a job or have any type of commerce. So you had to make a choice. Are you going to be loyal to Jesus Christ as King and King and Lord of Lords? Or are you going to be loyal to the beast? And in the earthly circumstances, often people succumb and they'll worship the beast. And then that means they'll be loyal to it, forsaking their loyalty to Jesus. And so when you bow to a power that mimics God, and it could be money or technology or any type of a government or just wanting acceptance or whatever it is, when you bow the knee and it becomes your functional God, you wear the mark of the beast. Your loyalty is misplaced. You say, well, I would never do that. Well, I've been asking the question, and Mariana, we're talking about it again. I was talking about someone else. If we could really see God for who he is, we would be 100% in, wouldn't we? Devoted. So why is it that we know who he is and who Jesus is, but we still struggle with loyalty or being totally committed? And so this is a warning to all of us, isn't it? And so 6 is man's number. It's the number of man. And what would be the number of God? 7, that's completeness. And because 6 is always incomplete. And 6 is always chasing God. And when you have 666, it's always short of who God is, but it promises you can have perfection and will take care of you and you have completeness and fullness on this earth, but you always what? falls short. And that's what the world offers. Satan is always lying to you and it never delivers. You always fall short. And so it's really a human arrogance that you think you can find completion or fulfillment without God in your life. It's foolishness. That's the whole letter of, or the book of Ecclesiastes. So it doesn't solve 666 for the people in the world, but it points. It says, watch out for those demands for your soul. It's not a beast, it's about submission. Who are you going to submit to? So it kind of makes you wonder what number we're already wearing. Are we wearing 666 in our life, or are we wearing Jesus Christ? You know, one or the other. And so let's look at that just a little more in detail when we look at this idea. Of course, it represented Nero's name. Literally, it did. But Nero was a representative of the Roman government who rides on the back of the beast, and it's really Satan versus Christ is what it is. The world versus Christ, all right? And so 7 is the number of God. 6 is always seen as the number of man. Always short of who God is, right? Even though we're made in his image. Now think about it. Man and beast were created on what? The sixth day. And on the 7th day, what happened? That's God's day. It's always been God's day. But it's interesting. Man was made the same day the beast was. There's not much that separates us from the beast except we're made in the image of God. And we have to choose, are we going to serve the beast or we're going to serve God? But they're both made on the 6th day, weren't they? And so it's interesting. This is a beast that comes from the sea. It's the representative of mankind in its futility that's in constant rebellion against God. And are you going to serve that or are you going to serve God? Not only that, he says you work 6 days, right? But the 7th day belongs to who? It's God's day. It's the Sabbath day. You can go out and just chase food and money and all the things the world's offering. And isn't that what we do on the 6 days of work? But the 7th day, you what? Rest, and you honor. You make sure your loyalty to him. This is all about loyalty and submission. But it's interesting. It's 6 and what? 7. 6 days are your own. That's man's days. But the 7th day is God. Goliath, it's interesting. You know how tall he was? 6 cubits and a span. He's almost as powerful and as big as God, but he's reaching for it. 6 cubits and a little short. Now, is that a coincidence? Well, you say, well, yeah, it is, but notice his spear was 600 shekels of iron. And we have this beast, his 666, just always reaching to be godlike, but always what? Falling short. It's interesting because Goliath really represented a beast. He was a beast, wasn't he? And was in our lectures too, and it was a really good one by Chris Huntley, that his armor was scale-like. Like a snake would be scaled overlapping each other. And it's interesting for lots of reasons, because remember in the garden, the snake appeared to the woman, Eve, and tempted her, and she showed devotion to the snake rather than to God. And God said to the snake, you know, be cursed will you be for the rest of your life. You'll be crawling on the ground, your belly. And he says, I'm going to put enmity between her seed, the woman, her offspring, and your seed. And he, the offspring of woman, will bruise you on the head. That'd be a death blow. But he'll recover in, 3 days. That'd be Jesus, because Jesus destroyed Satan, but it cost him his life. But in the 3rd day, he what? He recovered. It's interesting. Goliath is symbolic of that beast. And who is David then? He's a picture of Jesus Christ. Because what did he slay that giant with? Just a stone. And Jesus said, upon this rock I'm going to build my church. And you see in Daniel 4, what caused the statue of Nebuchadnezzar to fall down? A stone. hit it and became a giant mountain. And so we're always slaying the beast. That's all I'm trying to say. Always slaying the beast. And Jesus has done it forever, but it's all about submission. Yes.
If Jesus, and big letter F, if Jesus slew Satan on the cross,
Yes.
how come we still give him honor, the beast?
Because
How come
he has a little power still now, but eventually we're going to see in the last part of Revelation, he's going to be finally put away in the lake of fire. But he still has real power. He wants to devour people, doesn't he? And you ask, why does God allow that? I cannot answer that.
If you die, if you
Oh,
kill the beast, how
I
come
got
it's
you.
still going?
Jesus overcame him, so we don't have to succumb to him. We have the power to choose who we're going to serve. And the only reason people serve the beast is because they choose to. So that's a good question you're asking. Yes. And he's always trying to seduce us. And he's good at it, isn't he? All right? Yes, Max.
It's now that this is going on.
Oh, absolutely.
This is the time of the beast.
And you look at Iran and what they've done over the years, they're just evil, evil people. They have the mark of the beast, if you would. They're not serving anything but the false prophet. It's not their religion is certainly not of God, is it? So it's interesting when you look at this. King Nebuchadnezzar, his statue is 60 cubits. Remember that tall one? Just short of what? 7. All right? And it was 6 cubits across. This 6 appears so many times in so many places. Jesus was crucified about the 6th hour. Because who killed him? And in John 19, Jesus said, Pilate asked the people, what shall I do with your king, Jesus? And they said, what? And they said, well, what am I going to do with Jesus, your king? And he said, we have no king but Caesar. Do you realize they said that? And now John is writing, and he says, don't bow down to the beast. And the number of that beast is 666. It's the Caesar. But they said, these are Jews saying, we have no king, not Jehovah or Yahweh. We have no king but who? Isn't that incredible? And John is piggybacking that because they rejected Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, to serve a man, the beast. And people do that today, don't they? Now we could end class right here because I know you got lots of questions. Go ahead.
Caesar was 666, right?
He represented man in opposition to God, yes.
Why did he try to turn him loose?
A what?
Why did he try to turn him loose?
Turn who loose? Oh, no, I'm talking about Pilate's the one that wanted to turn Jesus loose. But they said, no, we have no king, kill Jesus except Caesar. And these are Jews, not Christians, the children of God, supposedly, and they're choosing to serve Caesar rather than Jehovah. Isn't that amazing?
And they said if you don't let, if you're serving Caesar rather than God.
That's right. And then he said, let his blood be on us that are taking the guilt of it all. So it's just this number thing is more than just coincidental. It's very significant. So 7's the number of God. 6 is the number of man. Always falls short. But in Christ, we can be like God. We're partakers of the divine nature. I'm just going to throw this as a bonus. When you take Jesus' name, Jesus Christ, in Hebrew, it adds up to 888. And that's what's interesting. Because 8 is the resurrection number, where he gets to take what was destroyed in the garden and recreate it and start all over again. So I'm going to throw some things at you to share. Males were circumcised on the 8th day. That's where you became part of the covenant people of God. And if you didn't get circumcised, what would you do? You're expelled from the tribe or the nation of Israel. The priests, had to be consecrated, purified before they were served, and it was completed on the 8th day. We're holy priests, all of us in God's eyes. And we go through a consecration period that's completed on the 8th day. And that's a picture really of our resurrection, because Jesus rose on the, no, he said, no, he rose on the first day of the week. Well, think about it. He died on the 6th day. Didn't he? Friday. Man killed him. The 7th day, where was he? That's God's day. He was in the grave resting. What happened on the 8th day? He rose. I know, but it's the 8th day. It's his resurrection. It was known by Christians, as I read, the day of resurrection of new life. And it's interesting, his number is 888. Now, Heather, you had your hand up.
I might have just missed that last part. So Sunday, 8th day?
It's the 8th day in that long week, if you would.
Because I wanted to clarify something.
It all starts over.
I would have to go back and read this, but what I recall from the early Christians, church fathers, if you will, they recognized Sunday as the 8th day, which I thought was
Yes.
interesting because it's the first day, but it was also called the 8th day. Do you remember reading that?
Yes, and baptism they saw was it was our resurrection as well. Because that's when Jesus rose from the dead on Sunday, right? And that's what our resurrection takes place. It's in our baptism. We die and we're raised to walk as children of God. And so it actually shows the importance of baptism all over again. And so you can't make this kind of stuff up. And I have no doubt that the readers of John's Revelation, they got it immediately, right? Because they were well rehearsed in all this type of language. So I just wanted to share that with you, because now we're going to look about how the 144,000 and the Lamb of God are going to hear the good news, from the Lamb of God. And it's about our security. We're going to make it. We're okay. Because we don't wear the mark of the beast. All right. So we don't have a lot of time. So we're going to go through this quickly. So I looked, and behold, verse 1, chapter 15 or 14. I see the Lamb who's standing on Mount Zion. That's a reference to what? Jerusalem. Okay? But we know in the Hebrew letter, now Mount Zion is the church or heavenly. It's a heavenly Jerusalem. All right? But you're exactly right, because we see throughout the Old Testament, Psalms 2 and verse 6, for me, I've installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain, and I'll surely tell the decree of the Lord. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have. That's obviously a reference to Jesus, right? And there's other places. Isaiah, we see the same type of language. So this lamb is standing on Mount Zion. When he's standing on the holy mountain of God, what does that show? He is in charge, the omnipotent one, the sovereign one, and that beast and everything else is subject to him, whether they realize it or not. Yes?
That number,
44,000?
does that mean that's all that's going to be in heaven?
No. Now, we looked at that number in chapter 7, and we'll look back at it again, but it's just this complete number, because you had 12 tribes of Israel, right? And 12 times 10,000, which is a 10 tripled, cubed, not cubed, but yeah, cubed, right? Not squared, then cubed. It's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 10,000. And then you have 12 times 10,000 is 144. 12 times 12, 144,000. It means the complete number of the faithful is what it means, it represents. And we'll look at that again. Yeah, none of these numbers are literal. They're figures or, placeholders to represent something else. All right? So Jesus is standing there, and with him are the 144,000. Now remember in chapter 7 it said he heard the number, then he saw people from every tribe, every language, from every nation of the world. These are people that have become what? Christians, and it involves the faithful children of Israel who became Christians too, right? There was always some faithful remnant. Well, they get martyred in that chapter because they're asking how long before what? You avenge our death on the earth. So they have his name and the name of his father written on their foreheads. Not the mark of the beast. Who do they have? Jehovah or Yahweh, Jesus Christ. And it's not, they literally have a name. It's all about submission and loyalty. These are the ones that are loyal to Jesus, and the rest are loyal to the world or to Satan. And that's the only choices we have. There's no in between. Yes.
I don't remember. I think on Sunday I talked to Pam.
Yeah.
And she was telling me, I know maybe some of you know that she was with the
Mormons, yeah.
Mormon church, and she said that when you get into it and you spend time and you become one of them, they have like a ceremony for you, and I know where, but they have a place that you can just go and they give you a new name, so you're not called out by your name. They
Wow.
give you a new name that only you know, and you cannot share that name with nobody. And I think that they maybe this is the first time they hear that, but maybe they take this from this verse.
Yeah. And also maybe the letters to the 7 churches. Remember the one church had a letter, no one knows but yourself? Yeah. It's serving the beast is what it is. So, verse 2. And I heard a voice from heaven like the sound of many waters, the sound of loud thunder. And the voice I heard was like the sound of harps playing on their harps. Harpists playing on their harps. We see this language earlier. In verse 3, they sang what? That's where we get that song we call the new song. And Rob said, what should we sing? I said, let's sing the new song. It's a really hard song to sing, so we're not going to sing it. We'll wait till we get to heaven. Now we'll sing it sometime. And they sang a new song before the throne and before the 4 living creatures. That was chapter 4. Remember we saw those. And the elders. How many elders were there? 24. They're always casting their crowns down, right? And no one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been purchased from the earth. Why? How were they purchased? You already know. By the blood of Christ. This is the church. Some of them are still on the earth. Some of them have ascended heaven because they died because of their faithfulness. They were loyal to Jesus because they wore his name rather than the beast. And they're all singing the song. And you can't sing the song. Isn't that beautiful? Unless you have been bought by Christ and you're loyal to him. I mean, you could sing the song, but it means nothing. Heather.
I apologize. Super quickly, and I shouldn't, but I can't resist. Verse 4, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe 144,000 in heaven. That's their doctrine.
Right.
And so I have told them that they have to be men only, the 144,000, and they're Jews and they're virgins because they
Yeah.
themselves from women.
And that's a good thing to point out that this is not literal, it's figurative language. Very good. So let's read verse 4. These, the 144,000 that have the names of the God on them, right, are the ones who have what?
Not been defiled.
That means they've kept themselves as virgins. Now, that means they've never had sex in their life or never been married? No, because this language is all throughout the Old Testament. When people who were married to God, remember we've talked a lot about that? The prophets talk about you have been betrothed to Jehovah and you are his bride. Don't be unfaithful by what? Defiling yourself how? Harlots worshiping idols. That's how they were unfaithful. So that's what he's talking. This language of harlotry or being pure virgins means they were pure to the Father, their husband. Right. And they're out there serving the false god, because all the prophets, what they say, if you don't repent and do away with your idols, judgment's coming. And they never listened. But here we have the faithful remnant. They wear the name of the Father and they're pure to him. They don't go serve the beast or serve false religion or serve these idols, whether it's money or whatever. That's simply what it is. And so let's get through that. So when we look at it, they've been purchased from the earth. We know in chapter 1 and verse 5 and 6, him who loves us released us from our sins by his blood and made us to be a kingdom. We saw that language earlier. And also in chapter 5, verse 9 through 10, they sang a new song there saying, worthy are you to take the book and break its seals, for you were slain, that's Jesus, and you purchased for God with your blood men, that's what Heather's saying, men only, but men is generic for what? Mankind, men and women, tribe, tongue, and people and nation. So this is for people from every nation, right? Every ethnic group. And you made them to be what? So does God's kingdom already exist right now? Yeah. They were made his kingdom, and it's in heaven, and Jesus is there as on Mount Zion ruling as king. And he's asking us just to be loyal to him. They're reigning where? What does it say? That's where we exercise our life as subjects to the king. We're on the earth reigning on his behalf. Does that make sense? And we don't wear the mark of the beast. That means serve the world or serve money or serve sex or serve power, serve acceptance. We serve Jesus, God. And it's really simple when you look at it all that way. And so they've been purchased from among men as first fruits. What does first fruits always guarantee? We've had a study on that. What? The best. You're giving the best, but when you offer the first fruits, what does that guarantee? There'll be second and third harvest. So these are the ones that first came to Christ, but they're a guarantee there's going to be many, many more. Guess what? We're part of the many, many, many more. We were not the first fruits, are we? No. That was the original Jews and the original Gentiles that became Christians and had to suffer terribly. Huh?
I'm glad you clarified that, because I always read the first fruits as once we become new creatures after our baptism.
No.
We are first fruit. We're going to them as first fruit.
Yeah, right. Now this language is it's in the Old Testament, and it's like I said, it's you offered your first fruits as a worship to God, thankful that you know everything came from him, and a guaranteed additional harvest. Yeah. Isn't that nice? And so we're a product of the original first fruits. No lie was found in their mouth because they're what? What do you think that means? No lie. What would they lie about? What would they lie about? Okay, let's go back. They have not defiled themselves with women, right? They've kept themselves pure to Jesus Christ. These are the ones they follow Jesus, the Lamb, where? There we go. That's discipleship, isn't it? Yeah. A disciple is a follower. Now, if you say, I'm a disciple and follower of Christ, how will you know if that's true or a lie? If you're following him, wherever he goes. Now, sometimes Jesus goes to places you don't want to be, i.e. the cross. In fact, his disciples said, we'll even die with you. But when they saw Jesus go to the cross, what did they do? Did they follow him? No, they ran.
But they died eventually.
I know. When he says there's no lie found in their mouth, they don't say, make a confession. Well, I believe in Jesus. He's my Lord. But and then live like he's not. A lot of people do that, right? They're lying. And God knows that. So they're blameless in that they make the good confession and they're true to it. It's interesting. Jesus said, if anyone serves me, he must follow me. And where I am, there will my servant be also. Isn't that beautiful? Wherever Jesus leads, I will go, follow. We sing that song, right? But again, it's sometimes to people and places you don't want to go. He touched the leper to heal him, right? He was with the tax collector who was despised and an outcast. He's like, I don't want to hang around those people. In fact, they questioned Jesus about it, right? But if we're a disciple of Jesus, where will we be? With the outcasts of society. Because we're trying to win them to Christ. I'm not talking about the drug dealers and all that. I'm talking about people that are just caught up in the world and are looking for a way out. And we serve the poor, just like Jesus served. We serve the needy. And so that's who they are. They're the faithful. They don't wear the mark of the beast. They wear the name of our Father. Jeremiah says, I remember concerning you the devotion of your youth, talking about Israel. The love of your betrothals. You were betrothed to Jehovah. You were following after me in the wilderness. Talking about Israel. Through a land not sown. Israel was holy to the Lord. The first of his harvest. That's first fruits, right? Who ate of it became... And all who ate of it, that'd be Israel, became guilty. Evil came upon them. In other words, God put a cloak of protection upon his people. And if you attacked his people, what's going to happen to you? Evil. And that's what John is drawing on in the Revelation here, this type of language, that when you're faithful to God, you're protected. Now, what happened to Israel? They denied their faith and started serving false gods. But at this time, they were his holy people. And that's what we are. So we see in verse 6, another angel flying in heaven. Now we're going to have 6 angels and Jesus in the middle. There's going to be 7 sections. 3 angels are going to announce, then the Son of Man will appear, and then the last 3 angels. Okay? And it's all about a picture of God standing beside his people, and you're going to be victorious over the beast. If you just what? Stay faithful. Just stay faithful. Because he's got your back. He'll cover you. And that's why we know we're going to heaven, because it doesn't depend upon me. It depends upon Jesus. So let's look at this quickly. I don't have time to read it. The first angel, flying into heaven, having an eternal gospel to preach. It's interesting. It's eternal. That means what? How many gospels are there? Once and for all time delivered. Jude chapter, or verse 3, right? So much for the Book of Mormon, right? A later gospel for Latter-day Saints. And also it's a gospel that has to be what? We understand the gospel is the power of God and salvation, but the power of God, the gospel, is worthless if it's not what? Preached. It has no power. Unless it's preached, and it's preached by us verbalizing it or showing it through our lives. That's how we preach the gospel, through our actions and through our words. But we have to be bold, and that's where it's powerful. And he preached to those who live on the earth, to every nation, every tongue. That's all nations, right? That includes Arabs and Islam and Chinese. And they said, the angel, with a loud voice, fear God and give him glory. Don't wear the mark of the beast. Don't bow down before him. Because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heaven, the earth, and the seas and the springs of the water. Here's how to stay faithful. 3 things. First of all, fear God, right? And then what? Give him the glory. And then what? What does it say? Worship him, because judgment has come. Worship Jesus, because he's made the heavens, the earth. That's all you gotta do, just serve him. It's not really that hard. And so the second angel following said, good news, the Babylon has fallen. Now, we don't see the destruction of Jerusalem here. We don't see anything about Titus coming, but it's just announcing, before it even happens, Babylon is what? Fallen. The great. She who has made all the nations drink of the wine of the passion of her immorality. Now, Babylon is a reference to who? Jerusalem. And we've established that, and we'll establish it again. But it's always been identified as Jerusalem. It's elsewhere, it's called Sodom and Egypt in chapter 1 and verse 18. That's interesting. She was responsible, Jerusalem, for the blood of the prophets, because when they cut Jerusalem open, this harlot, in chapter 18, what kind of blood comes out of her? The blood of the apostles and the prophets. Well, who killed the apostles and the prophets? Jerusalem, because Jesus said it's not possible for a prophet to die outside of Jerusalem. The Babylon is the great harlot, Jerusalem. Boy, that's anti-Semitic if you said that too loudly today. But the Jews are really no longer God's people. If they were, they became what? Christians. All right. So.
We're allied with Israel wrongly?
Correct. Yes. They still think they're the people of God and we need to honor them so we get blessed. No, couldn't be farther from the truth. And Peter says, she who is in Babylon greets you. That's interesting. A lot of people think, well, that's Rome. No, Peter was in Jerusalem, and he probably wrote 1 Peter from Jerusalem, and he's calling Jerusalem what? Babylon, the great harlot. All right? So when we look at that, the third angel sounds with a loud voice saying, if anyone worships the beast in his image and receives a mark on his forehead, he will drink the wine of the wrath of God, which mixed how? Full strength in the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So who's this coming from? Jesus. Now, can you get any more graphic than that? Full strength, cup of his anger, fire and brimstone. Now remember, who had fire and brimstone thrown on him? And Jerusalem's already been called Sodom in chapter 11, verse 8. And so when the full strength of the cup of his anger, what do we know about their cup of iniquity? Remember we started that in our introduction? It is what? Full. Their judgments come because they're sinful to the max. There's no more hope for them. And so there's going to come this cup of wrath. That language is throughout the Old Testament. We could spend the whole class tracing that. But God's cup of wrath is when he's pouring out his judgment upon his people or other nations. But now it's against Jerusalem itself, right? It's inescapable. Yeah, how are you going to escape it? And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest day and night. Those who worship the beast, see, it's devotion or allegiance, in his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Here is, this is the most beautiful passage, coming up with the next one in verse 15, the perseverance of the saints. What? God pouring out this wrath is going to help me persevere? Help me understand.
He's protecting you, and he's bringing judgment on those that would malign you or take you out.
Exactly. Who are our enemies? The people that serve the beast are our enemies. And here is Jesus, the Lamb, and all the angels pouring out this wrath. And he says, don't worry. I'm going to take care of them. You just hang in there. You're going to be victorious. Because I'm going to eliminate them. And I'm not talking about kill people on the world, just all of a sudden disappear. But in the big picture, we're okay, aren't we? Just persevere. And what do you got to do to show your perseverance? Two things. Keep the commandments. And then what? And keep the faith. Now, it's interesting. Those are married together. When you keep the faith, you're always what? Keeping the commandments. As well. Why do you keep commandments? Because I'm keeping the faith. They're the same thing. I trust God so much, I'm going to do what he says. Wherever he leads, I'm going to follow. And he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything will be added to you. That's the perseverance. I trust in him and not myself, and I surely don't trust in the beast. That's the perseverance of the saints. Just keep the faith. Yes?
Well, they had a greater fear of God than anything else.
Oh, that's good said. Greater fear than God.
No one would want to
Yeah.
get that wine of God's wrath.
Because we know what's going to happen. The wrath's coming, so just get on the right side. It's already been decided who's going to win. So we're almost done. Then we see the Son of Man. It's like a mini interlude. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, write this. John, write this down. Blessed are the dead. I referred to this in our Sunday lesson. Blessed mean are happy. That's what the word blessed means. Happy are those who what? What? Well, why? Because you get to, that's right to heaven. So they may rest from their labors, because these people were dying miserable deaths, and when they get there, they finally have rest and peace. And God wipes away what? Isn't that a beautiful thought? And their deeds will follow them. And I think there's rewards in heaven. That's another lesson. Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and sitting in the cloud was one like the Son of Man, having a golden crown on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Now, this sickle is interesting because it can be used for harvesting for good and also harvesting for evil. The first angel out of the temple, that's the temple in heaven, it's not on earth anymore, it'll be destroyed, cries out, put in your sickle and reap, for the hour to reap has come, because the harvest of the earth is ripe. Didn't Jesus said the harvest is white for, how did he say that? The fields are white for harvest. And he's talking about what? Bringing people to Christ, all right? I think that's what's happening here. And the earth's reaped. Then there's going to be a negative harvest, okay? Because another angel, he has a sharp sickle, and another angel, that'd be the sixth one, who has the power over fire, come out from the altar, and he called with a loud voice, who had the sharp sickle, saying, put in your sharp sickle and gather the clusters from the vine of the earth, because their grapes are ripe. This is going to be a negative one. Remember dividing the sheep from the goats? The right from the left? Because with judgment of the wicked, you get deliverance of the righteous. You have them both going together. So God is saving those who want to be saved by preaching the gospel, and he's also going to judging those that don't want to. His salvation and judgment come hand in hand. Now, interesting, this fire comes from where? What does that remind you of? Someone, because we'll stay here until someone answers it.
When Nadab and Abihu offered strange fire.
Well, that's good, but it's from the book of Revelation. We might be here to midnight. Who is before the altar? That's your clue. Chapter 6. Remember Jesus, they're in their white robes, and they asked John, who are these people? He said, Lord, I don't know. He said, these are the ones that have come out of the great tribulation. That's why they're before the altar of God, and they're crying out, how long, Lord, before you avenge our death on the earth? And he says, just wait a little while. This is the time. Because now the fire's coming from where? Out of the altar, from where they've been staying all this time, crying in their prayers, right? Avenge us. Here's the vengeance. Her grapes are finally ripe. Their cup of iniquity is full. When will this world be destroyed? When our cup is iniquity is full. I don't know when, but God's still reaping souls, isn't he? He's reaping souls, but he'll judge the rest as well. So the angel swung his sickle on the earth and grabbed the cluster from the vine of the earth and threw them into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden outside his city. The blood came out from the winepress up to the horse's bridle for a distance of 200 miles. Blood this deep for 200 miles. Okay, is that literal? What is that painting a picture of?
How terrible.
Total, complete vengeance and destruction of the evil, those that reject God. No one escapes. This is where our victory is. The perseverance of saints. Just keep the faith, keep the commandments. We're okay. Like Noah.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of Noah, you know?
It's interesting. How many souls were in the ark? 8. Oh, yeah. 8 is the number of resurrection in life. And just as Noah was preserved through water, 1 Peter chapter 3, baptism now what? Saves you, and that goes back to the resurrection. He says through the resurrection of Christ. That was the 8th day. By the way, that's just a freebie, right? All right. So, isn't it an amazing chapter? Just stay what? I'm going to ask the question for a few more minutes, and you're going to give it to me because I always take it anyway, right?